Today on our 2011 Cadillac SRX, we're going to be installing the RoadMaster Second Vehicle Kit with BreakAway for BrakeMaster Systems. Part number is RM-98160. This will allow us to tow our vehicle behind the RV or camper without the added hassle of installing an entirely new supplemental braking system. This is going to work with the BrakeMaster system and includes all the hardware needed for the installation. Let's test our system and show you how it works. First, we'll hook up our towed vehicle to the RV. We'll make our connections with the airline, which will activate the BrakeMaster in our vehicle. Then we'll hook up our brake monitor light, which is going to come on when the brakes are applied inside of our towed car. We'll also want to hook up our new BreakAway cable. And we can't forget about our wiring. All right, now we'll head inside the car and take care of the BrakeMaster. The BrakeMaster itself is sold separately as part number RM-9100. And then we'll hook the male end of that right into the female end that we've installed. Now we'll set the car in tow mode, pressurize our system, and check for leaks. Now we're going to charge up the system. To do that with a hydraulic over air system, you'll just start your key, it'll charge. For an air over air like we're using today, we'll chock the wheels, start up the motor home, and then release the parking brake. Then we'll go spray down each of the connection points. Now let's pull our breakaway switch and ensure we have proper activation. Now here's where our brake switch really comes into play. You can see here it says BrakeMaster, brakes are on in towed car when lit. So when I step on the brakes, I want to see that come on. Release the brakes, we want to see it go off, working as it should. Now, the time we don't want to see this come on is when we're not applying our brakes. That's going to indicate that something's going on in the car. Something's shifted, we need to check it out because the brakes are reading that they're applied. With our test done, now we'll show you how it installs. Now we've got to get our air cylinder mounted. We're going to do that right on top of our fuse box here. Lay it in there, just kind of pre-position it where we want it. We want to make sure we can get to our tabs here at the top, the bottom, and even right over here on the back side so we can still get our fuse panel cover off. Now the cylinder is going to attach using two band clamps. Let's get those around there. Gonna figure out what our best position will be there. Then we're just gonna kind of mark those locations so we can have an idea of about where those clamps are. Now we can move these up and down just depending on the exact location. So let's pull that cover off and see where that's gonna land us. This one I'm gonna move down just a little bit. Poke a hole through there and you'll see we're gonna be putting our washers and stuff here. I'm going to try to avoid any of the writing. That way if we ever need to reference our chart here, we'll still be able to see it. So we'll try to go right in between there with it. The top hole location is going to be there. We'll move that up just a little bit so we can avoid blocking off that number there. We'll do one there and one right there. Now let's drill out our hole locations using a 1/4 inch bit. Then we're going to use the 1/4 inch bolts and the flange nuts. Those are going to go down through our clamps and through the holes we just created. We'll secure it on the back side there. Now let's go just kind of test fit it in there, make sure everything's going to fit together properly. Looks good. Let's kind of lower the hood and we'll check, see if we have any interference. Everything looks to work pretty well. I'm going to rotate it slightly, kind of decrease that angle a little bit. And when it's all said and done, we'll be able to pull that right up. Just kind of tilt it over here and still be able to get into our fuse panel. I kind of rotated that over just a little bit, kind of give us a good angle. And then we're just going to tighten our bolts down. I'll just put our cover back on, click it into place. Now if you haven't already done so, you're going to be mounting your breakaway switch at this point. When we put the base plate and the tow bar on, we mounted it because we already had the fascia off of the vehicle. And here are 2 wires that we've brought up from it. Now from our breakaway switch here, doesn't matter which one, but one of these needs to go to our 12-volt power source. The other one's going to connect onto one of the wires coming from our solenoid here. So let's get that connection made now. Let's get a clean strip on that solenoid wire. Then we can do the same on the breakaway wire that we've run up. Use the supplied butt connector. We'll crimp each side of that on. All right, now we'll use a little electrical tape just to wrap that up and provide us with a little bit of a moisture barrier. Now we can just kind of zip tie that off here. We want that little bit of that flexibility though, so when we want to, we can move our cover up and off, remember that. But we also want to have a little bit of extra kind of tucked away down here if our wire ever happens to get damaged or we need to make any repairs. So we've got just a little bit there, kind of an insurance. And we could really just clean that look up quite a bit by wrapping that with a little bit of tape as well. Tuck that down and away. Now let's take care of getting our 12-volt power ran right under our solenoid there, our air cylinder. Clip it off. Now we'll bring our 10 amp inline fuse holder. See inside here, gonna have our 10 amp fuse. We're gonna take that out, just set it up here for now. And these are gonna connect on just like a butt connector or a spade terminal connector would, anything like that. Now we'll take the other side of the wire we just trimmed off there. We'll strip it back and put the other side on here. Now the other side of that, we're gonna put on a ring terminal. Now we're going to be going to the stud located right underneath this cover, so let's go ahead and pull that back. On each side, here, 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 and here, we're going to have 2 clips. So we'll get the first set undone, second set undone, and then this is just kind of going to roll back towards us. Just let that hang out right there. Now we'll use just a little bit of black tape here and provide us a little bit of a vapor barrier. Do it around fuse holder end here as well. Now that we can connect right onto our stud coming up out of the battery. All right, so we've got that connection made. It's going to come out here to where we can easily service our fuse. Then we've got plenty of extra wire hanging out there that we'll be able to just tuck away down here in case we would ever need it. Now for the other side of our solenoid, this needs to come out to our ground terminal. Luckily our battery's really close here. Shouldn't have any issues getting it connected. So we're going to bring it down. I'm going to bring it right up through one of those clip holes where these tabs go down and clip in. Then we'll bring it right there onto that stud. Now we're going to add a ring terminal to it. All right, both our connections are made there. Everything looks good. And we'll get our cover positioned back over. And we'll push it down so it clips in place. It looks like down here, the cover wants to interfere slightly with that fuse holder, so let's just pull it up. It'll be hang out right there for us. Now here you can see we've installed our tow-ready short bracket. That's part number 118140. We did that while we had the fascia off. We knew we'd need an airline connection point. So as you're doing your base plate, great idea to go ahead and get that put in. We'll bring our 2 bolts down through. It's going to give us an awesome location to mount our bracket. Just like that, we can bring it up on there. It'll stick out of the front. But before we do, we're going to go ahead and get our airlines plumbed on the back. That way we won't have any interference issues with our bolts. Now we're going to start running our airline. We need to go from our solenoid valve up here down to our bracket location. So if we go right underneath the lip here, we kind of get it started the right direction, and we'll want to look for it to come around the corner here. Now with enough tucked in there, we'll go around the underside and see if we can't bring it on over. Now from the underside here, we should be able to reach up, find the end of that hose, and just keep directing it over the right direction. Now if we look right in here, we'll see where that tube's come out, kind of back in behind the power steering cooler there. So just kind of keep working it over here the right direction. And we'll see we'll have it come out here right where we need it. Really Nice positioning. Now we can take the end of our hose and we're gonna snip that off nice and flush. It's a tubing cutter we sell at etrailer. Part number is F9009. Then we'll take our nut, we're gonna slide that up on, followed by the ferrule. And then we're gonna insert the little brass insert there. It'll come down, it's in the back of the fitting, and we'll bring that down and tighten it up. All right, looking good there. We'll slide our bolts right down through. Once we have that up on our bracket, we can secure it with our nuts. And same thing on the other side here. We just tighten those down. That'll take care of that front connection point. As you can see, nice, sturdy. And then when not in use, we've got the dust cover that's going to slide over the end and keep that grime and gunk and stuff like that getting in that fitting on us. Now we can bring our airline back here and just kind of get a rough figure of where it's going to need to be. It's going in the lower fitting, or the fitting that has the elbow. That's the air in. This is the air out. So this is going to go inside the car. And just like we discussed before, our top's removable there. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the top off the fuse panel. And we've left enough room, if you remember, so we can just kind of lay it over just like this and still access that fuse panel. Now we can do the same thing that we did on our front connector. We'll slide on the nut, ferrule, insert. We'll run it right on in. Get that connection made. Let's get our cover repositioned here. That's going to leave our other connection point nice and open there. It'll be easy to get to. Then when it's all said and done, we'll take care of cleaning up some of these wires a little bit, kind of get everything tucked down and away. Now we've got this plastic panel here on the underside. Let's get rid of this. Give us a look up there at the back side of the dashboard and see where we can get that airline from the outside in. We'll have a Phillips screw located here. One on the opposite corner. And then we've got two push pin fasteners right up here. We'll kind of gently pull out on the bottom of the dash here. There'll be a few clips we want to separate. And we'll also pull off our little side panel here. A few pressure clips in there. You can see 1, 2, 3. Now, of course, we don't want to rip our OBD sensor out, so let's just remove that quickly. And when that's out of the way, we'll see another push pin fastener that we've got right here and also here. We've got a light right here. There's small tabs on each side there. We push those tabs in. We can kind of pull that cover off there. And there's also a little clip that we'll have to push in once that cover's gone to pull that connection out. And let's also separate this one. We'll separate our little connector here as well. That, and then we'll just need to use a trim panel remover tool and pop those two Christmas tree fasteners out. Get underneath those and pop up on them. Now let's go ahead and set that aside. Gives us a look at the back side of the dash here. Now right here, we've got a grommet that runs from inside of the car to outside of the car. Now what we're going to do is take an old piece of airline. We're just going to slide it through that grommet beside that wire loom and feed as much through there as we can. Use a screwdriver, we can kind of try to open that up just a little bit. Now after we get that poked through there, you'll see right back here, you can see a little piece of red tubing. So just kind of look for it in that area. Pull it on out there. Get it up here where we can work with it. We're just going to tape the new airline right off to that, and we'll use this one to pull this one in. Now, also at this time, since we're putting a brake switch on in this application, we're going to go ahead and get that added. Pretty good tip there. Anytime you're going to be pulling something through the firewall, get everything you're going to need all in one go. Now with that taped off, we'll pull from the inside and bring that stuff right on through where we can work with it inside the car here. Oh, we just unwrap it. Now we need to decide where to mount our female quick disconnect. This can go up underneath the dashboard in a convenient location. It can go down here, you know, kind of on your floor. We're gonna go right onto our bracket here. That'll give us a nice sturdy mounting location. Now we'll route our airline to the mount. We're gonna hide the line behind the panel here. To help push it back, we can just use like a screwdriver or a trim panel removal tool. It should be really nice. It'll give us plenty of slack. I moved the caution sticker out of the way so we're not blocking off any important information there. Just get this lined up. Mark out our location there. Get our first one started. Just using self-tapping screws. For hooking up our airline here, we're going to take the compression nut, slide that down on the tube, slide our ferrule down on the tube. Then we'll use our tubing cutter again and square up that end nicely. And in will go our insert. Slide that as far in as we can. Bring our ferrule down as far as we can, and then our nut. Now for one last touch, I'm going to angle this backwards just a little bit. Kind of levels that all out. It's not sticking out any further than our connection point here on our bracket. So really nice and convenient location to mount it. While you're in here getting this mounted, quick connect right there. You're not going to have to worry about trying to get up under the dashboard or somewhere else. Now we'll take our other end of the airline here. It's going to kind of maneuver it around. Get it to where it can be in a pretty relaxed state when we connect it in right there, which that looks like it would be pretty good. Might actually rotate our cylinder just a little bit. Then we'll take our nut, we're going to slide that up on, followed by the ferrule. And then we're going to insert the little brass insert there. It'll come down, it's in the back of the fitting, and we'll bring that down and tighten it up. Now comes time where we need to install the motorhome monitoring wire. Several different ways that monitoring wire can get its signal. In our case today with the SRX, we're going to be using the RoadMaster brake light switch. This is part number RM-751441. And essentially what this is going to do, it's going to mount on a bracket right in front of our brake pedal. And when the pedal is released, it comes out and holds that button in. But if for some reason that pedal were to engage, or if it gets depressed, then it releases that switch. And that's going to send a signal into our motorhome. It's going to notify us that we need to pull over. Either we've got a problem with our braking system or something of that effect. Now, if you're actually hitting your brakes in your RV, then you're going to have the LED light inside the RV. It's going to come on. It's going to indicate to you that yes, in fact, your BrakeMaster is doing its job and it's pressing that pedal. Now you remember when we ran our airlines in, we ran two wires here. The red one's going to be our power wire. That's going to come up here, connect onto a positive terminal of the battery. Inside the fuse holder here, there's a 10 amp fuse. We're going to go ahead and pull that out for now. Set it right up here where we can find it later. Just to where we won't have any power until we put that in. Our green wire, that connects onto our motorhome monitor wire. This is the wire that's going to come with your second vehicle kit. It's got a plug in right there, so we can plug that into the motorhome and that'll send our signal up to the front. That gets attached to our green wire. We'll use a butt connector for that, which is going to be supplied. Now for the plug inside, we want to get this kind of mocked up first. So we need to get this ran down. Typical location is going to be right beside the wiring connection. You might have a 4-pole or a 6-pole connection there on the front of your towed vehicle. We want this to be very close to it. So let's kind of route it down there the way we want it to go. This is going to be very similar to when we ran the airline down to the front. We're going to use something to kind of fish our way down through there. And then ultimately we'll pull our wire from behind with that. Then we can connect the monitor wire here at the top. And our wire will be down here where we can easily connect it into our RV. Now that we know we've got plenty down there to make our connection, we'll trim off the excess that we've got. And we'll strip the end of it and also strip the end of our green wire. And then we'll use a butt connector to secure those together. We'll put a little tape on there to keep that out of the elements. Now while we're out here, let's also take care of our red wire. We'll add the ring terminal to that. We can connect it to our battery. Since we don't have the fuse in here, it won't be as if we're actually making the connection. It won't be till we add that we'll actually get power. Like the other connections that we made, the one that powers our solenoid, it's got the same style fuse. We've still left that out. We're going to do those at the end. But we're going to get this in and connect it on that same stud on the lower side. So let's pop our cover off our battery here. Then we'll go to that stud right there. Once we have it in place, we can just snug our bolt back down. We'll bring our cover back down in place. We'll just guide our cover down there on there easily. We've got new wires that we've added in and airlines, and make sure everything's clear while you're doing it. Looks like we've got a little bit of extra red wire. We'll pull that in. We'll still want to tuck our fuse holder down in there. The green wire looks like we're kind of at an okay distance there. We got a little bit of slack, so we won't have to worry about shortening that up at all. All right, we've got those wired up. Let's take care of getting our bracket and switch in place. Now, if we look right at the top of the brake pedal here, this is our brake pedal assembly. You can see the whole thing's gonna move. We've got 2 bolts holding it in place. One you can't kind of see, it's right here in the back, and one right up here in the front. This is going to need a 13mm socket, and we want to get up there and loosen that bolt. Let's take it on out. Then our bracket's going to go right up in place there. Now before we put our bracket in place, it's going to be a good idea to put your switch on. Take one of the nuts off there, slide it through, and put it back on. We're going to do the smooth side towards our plate. Now we'll take our bracket and switch assembly, place that bolt back through it, put it right back in that same hole. All right, now we want to be sure that our brake pedal's in the highest possible position that it can be in, or the position out closest to us. And with no more room there, we'll move our bracket so our switch is fully depressed, and then tighten our bolt right back down. Now you can see when we depress our pedal, our plunger is going to come out, indicating that something there has happened. When released, it'll keep our switch in, keeping us from having that signal coming up, indicating that our brakes have been pressed. Now we'll strip off the green end, the red end, and add the supplied spade terminals there so we can hook that to the back of our switch. Now we'll slide the green terminal on the back side of our switch, and then also bring our red wire connector up. Good news is it doesn't matter which way we do them. Do just like that. And now we'll tidy up our excess wire, set it aside in case we ever need it down the road. All right, now we can put our dashboard back together. For our side panel cover, we want to line up these two tabs. There's a hole right there and a hole right there. You kind of sneak it in behind the weather stripping there. Now we've got our two fuse holders here. Let's go ahead and get our fuses replaced since we've got everything put back together. Both of them use 10 amps, so we're not going to have to worry about having the wrong one. Out of the way, but still accessible, so if we ever need to change a fuse, if we happen to blow one or something like that, we'll be able to get right in there and take care of it. Now sometimes we'll go around, zip tie everything off, get it real tight and real compact, but we got to remember we want a little bit of flexibility in everything in case we ever need to remove this fuse panel cover so we can lay it right over and we don't have to worry about removing our cylinder. And there you have it for part number RM-98160 on our 2011 Cadillac SRX.